Growing up in the village was great. A lot of fun, running around barefoot, chasing rabbits and squirrels on the way to school, early in the morning, walking through the dew. Looking forward to the times when visitors would come home and would be sent running after chicken, falling down on the ground for a sumptuous meal. Unfortunately, we as children were given the legs, wrapped with intestines and the head. The elders enjoyed the better parts of the chicken, and we couldn't complain. Taking the cows to the river every day in the evening, wondering why they had to go to the river at a particular time in the day. Going to those mud walled schools in the village, sometimes learning under the tree, wind blowing away the blackboard, and students wishing that this always happened at maths time. This life didn't continue for too long because at class 6 I went off to boarding school in Mumias. The intention was actually to make me a member of the Catholic sort of priestly brotherly association. That didn't quite work out due to some incidences, and But I went through that, and I want to fast forward this and come to Nairobi University, after the high school and all that. So I came into university, and that was the only university at the time, as I grew up. My father and I were very close. He was a disciplinarian, and he insisted that he must come with me to Nairobi. Now, none of us had been to Nairobi before. So you can imagine coming to the city for the first time, trying to cross the roads. Traffic lights were alien to us. He's holding my hand. I'm carrying my box. He's holding his walking stick as well. We are running across these roads in town. Across the great court, we get registered, and he walks me across to Hall 11 and leaves me there. Now, my greatest worry was whether he would find his way back. The university years were interesting in a way. I was on the studious side, although I was not, unlike Rupa, I was never the number one student, but I was somewhere in the middle. And, a couple of friends from high school, we did what university students normally did, got together at the student center on Friday nights, just to find out how the week was going and how everything else was going. So I leave the university and I get a job in one of the accountancy firms. I'm living in Buruburu. Since I didn't know anybody in Nairobi, so friends of mine who had been ahead of me in school are sharing a house, Dan Oduor and Olo Fula. And each of them is living in this house with his brother. So these are three-bedroom houses. So their brothers are staying in one room, so I get this safari bed, the foldable safari bed, which I had bought for 100 shillings, which was money that I'd got through my first salary advance in the first week of work. So I go and place it in the middle of their two beds, and you can imagine me trying to dive into this bed every night from work. But at this time, also, the other thing which happens is I see this lady, Cyprus Atieno, the daughter of Owenje. So I say, life can rise. Things are rising. She's just about to go into university. She's, I think, going into first year as I've walked out. And, our friendship blossoms. And, one thing leads to another. At the end of her first year, to cut a very long story short, we actually got married. And our children came fast and furious. Year 1, year 2, year 4, and year 10. They're now adults and they're in this room somewhere. That's why I'm remaining guarded in what I say. But things move pretty fast. It was a very rough time for her in those days, especially, trying to bring up these young children, going to university, looking after us. The first kind of years, no car, no nothing, so walking around Snow Cream on University Way to pick her up on foot, number 22, Buruburu, etc. And that was quite interesting for us at the time. I moved on, my career was moving on at the same time, so I did my accountancy qualification, I finished that within the 3 years. I go into British American Tobacco looking for a job as an accountant, and this is really where my big vision begins to happen. So I sort of say, when I grow up, I want to be a CEO of something big. And I tell this to my interviewers, the finance director and the chief accountant, and they're two British guys who don't see how this would happen to a 26-year-old guy. I didn't say that when I got married, my wife was 21 and I was 23, 24, And so I get the job. Things move on. I'm trying to get to the top. I'm trying to get to this CEO in BAT. Of course, it's not going to happen. I can't even get to the finance director position because that was reserved at the time for expatriate British. So I have to change course. I leave this company. I get a job in the bank at Barclays. The same struggle is continuing actually because I still want to get to the top. The same, glass ceiling seems to be there. But after 7 years, I actually got to the finance directorship at Barclays, and things were seemingly going well until a man called Richard Leakey walked into my office and said, actually, I've just had a conversation with President Moi, and he has asked me to pull together a team of 6 people to go into government and try and change course because the economy was doing very badly in 1999. And a lot of thoughts go through my mind, my job, my career, my family, Moi, how do you work for Moi? And Richard kind of says, but actually, when our country goes south, when things collapse here, you sitting in this Barclays Bank building will not help you. So you better come and try and do some national service with me. So I get appointed permanent secretary in the Ministry of Finance in 1999, July. Walk into this office, don't know where to start. On the 9th or 11th floor of Treasury Building, I'm pacing up and down. My heart is beating fast. Trying to sit on this chair, going round and round. I see this green phone, which is only meant for conversations with the president. I'm opening the cupboard to see if anything is tapped here, whether I can actually say anything in this room. But there was, across the window was the central bank and the Central Bureau of Statistics. And we were 6 of us. We had an agenda, a reform agenda. First year went very well. Second year, once we got the money from the donors into the country, I think our usefulness was over. One day at 1 o'clock, one Friday, you know the story. An announcement was made about my replacement. Nothing was said about me. I was actually sitting at a doctor's place at Nairobi Hospital. I'd gone for a review, and at 2 o'clock I was supposed to go and address an international investment conference at KICC. So I'm sitting in front of this doctor at 1 o'clock. I'm telling him, just hurry up and do whatever you need to do with me so that I dash off. My secretaries in the office phone me. They say, there has been a change. I say, what change? We have a new permanent secretary. So, of course, that was the end of that story and that career bit. Finished with the doctor, went downstairs. Fortunately, my driver and my bodyguard were waiting. As you know, in those days, immediately you are fired, you're on your own. I went down, I found Musau, my driver, and Kasoni, my bodyguard, waiting there. Pole sana mzee, saying, it's okay. Say, where shall we take you? Say, take me to my house. Went home, got my car, phoned up my wife, told my children what had happened, said to them, don't worry, life will be okay. And I went back to the office, handed over to my successor, had a team meeting with the team, bid bye, thanked them, and I went off to start a new career. Fortunately, I had a return ticket into Barclays, which was one of my fallback position. Always have a plan B. Went in. The only problem is that life had moved on. I'd lost my place in the queue. So although I was gunning for this CEO job in Barclays, there were other people like Eden Mohammed who had come up. And if any of you has ever lost a job or been fired, just imagine what it feels like. There's some degree of embarrassment, some loss of reputation. People are asking you funny questions which you don't want to answer. So what happened or where are you, etc. Anyway, I had to recreate my life within Barclays. I could not get that CEO role there. But in that, I took that opportunity to do an executive MBA to position myself for the future. Moved off to South Africa, worked there for 2 years with Barclays, and then KCB happened. So my friends, because I'd kept touch, sent me a note saying, there's an advert here for a deputy chief executive at KCB. Are you interested? I said, yeah, of course. Wrote my letters, did the interviews, got appointed as the deputy CEO. Came in 18 months later, took over as CEO. So that thing which I told the guys at BAT many years earlier actually happened. And walking again into this 7th floor office at Kencom House, I know there's some people here who work at Kencom House. Walking through the VIP lift, as in the treasury, you walk into this office, you have your big desk, big room, executive toilet, which is quite important. VIP lift. So I say, life is rising again. And we worked hard at KCB. It's all on record. Moved into South Sudan, into Rwanda, into Uganda, into Burundi, strengthened Tanzania, opened up Zanzibar, strengthened up Kenya, laid the foundation for what I believe is a great bank and will be a great bank for the future. And I really look forward to seeing that in the days ahead. But time, of course, comes to move on. And 4 years ago, I moved on. I wanted to savor the other aspects of life, of professional life. So I moved into Deloitte. There's some colleagues of mine, ex-colleagues of mine from Deloitte here as well. So again, trying to see how to balance life, having been on one side, what does the other side look like? What does it feel like? How do you position yourself for that? And for as long as, God gives you the graces and the energy and the talent, the abilities. As I said, in all these places, when I went to the treasury and when especially, the first thing I did was actually to stand there in that floor and give glory to God. I actually said, please give me the strength, give me the wisdom, give me the protection to carry on this role that you have bestowed upon me. And, having moved out of Deloitte now, I'm freelancing. I'm an independent advisor. I first met Don when we were trained to be executive coaches together. I'm carrying that profession much more seriously ahead than him. I work with boards. I work with individuals, senior executives. on a one-on-one basis. I work in the area of governance and leadership. And I do really believe that this is one thing that this country really needs. People of integrity, people who can actually really dedicate their life to making the lives of others better. During my time at KCB, this came to me very, very strongly when I realized that here I am looking after 5,000 employees, their lives of their families, the lives of the broader clients really will depend on how I carry out this role. And it's been a great pleasure at that time. Coming back to the subject of rising and falling and soaring, I do believe that each one of us has got a story. Each one of us has got those moments when they have risen. They've got those moments when they have fallen. They've got those moments when they can soar. And that we need to take opportunity to take advantage of those moments. Falling, in my case, refers to a couple of incidences. It refers to the time I was fired. It refers to the time that I believe I was shortchanged at Barclays. It refers to the periods in 2000 and 2004 when my mom and my dad passed on. And as a firstborn, you start wondering, okay, so how do things move around here and what do we do next, etc., etc. But within all that, there's a strength that comes with it that says, just move on. Life will be better. Do something about it. And maybe falling is what gives us that impetus to think through more creatively and decide how we want to spend the next stage of our life. Thank you.